Stop whatever kind of doom scrolling you're doing right now and listen, because what I'm about to tell you will change how you feel about what's going on in the world. I just finished a tall glass of slightly irradiated data center water to get ready for this, so let's go ahead and get started. Russia will temporarily close a number of their railway border crossings with Finland, Latvia, and Estonia. This starts today. The reasons, according to the Russian military, are a matter of national security. It's an appropriate executive order by the Russian government directly issued by the president to that country. The decision concerns 5 different crossings: Finland, crossings across Latvia, and 1 crossing in Estonia. Now, Russia just suffered debilitating attacks against its infrastructure, and Ukraine is to blame. NATO is preparing for a wave of Russian aggression. Citizens inside of the country's capital are fighting for enough fuel just to get to work. Thousands of people are evacuating every day. Now, a covert operation called the nation's first terror attack tore through a Monaco neighborhood, and it hit an elitist Ukrainian multimillionaire. Today, we're breaking down exactly what happened in Monaco's first terror attack, who was targeted by this, and why this attack is already being seen as unprecedented both in its reach and what will happen next as investigators uncover what could be a larger terror network behind it. The details that are emerging over the last few hours paint a picture that is becoming more disturbing literally by the minute. As we're watching these events take place, we have Russian discourse coinciding. According to initial Russian messaging, every area of this planet remains touchable by the Kremlin. So if you thought Monaco was a safe place for security, your family, think again. One of the most heavily protected places on Earth was just rocked by an explosion, and a suspect or multiple are still reported to be on the run after reports say that a man believed to be of a European descent left a package outside of a residential building before it detonated, critically injuring multiple people and triggering a terror vision security response inside of the country. Now, the explosion happened just before 9 o'clock. According to investigators, it started on a street directly across from the French border. Now, authorities say that a man walked up to the entrance of a residential building. He left behind what appeared to be a backpack or a package, and then he simply walked away. A short time later, the device exploded, as if on a controlled or a remote-controlled timer. 3 people apparently were the target of this event. 2 adults suffered life-threatening injuries in this attack, and a 13-year-old was also caught in the blast. Now, inside of Russia, they're applauding this. Emergency crews are said to have rushed all 3 victims to the hospital, while several other people nearby were treated from the explosive flying glass and the shock of what had just happened inside of this country. Now, from that point forward, the response from NATO, from France, was immediate. Monaco went into high alert. Police flooded into the area. They started closing down the roads, and investigators began searching for the person or people that they were believing planted the device. Surveillance cameras that we saw some of the information from are shown to have captured a man leaving a package shortly before this explosion. But officials say he disappeared before the terror investigators were able to respond. Now, to our community, this appears to be Russian-Ukrainian wet work in an attack, and right now you're about to see why. You see, something is changing inside of Russia. We are literally on the verge of World War III because of this, and Ukraine's drone and missile strikes are no longer just hitting military targets near the front lines far away from populated regions. Right now, the war is reaching deep into Russia's capital. It's setting oil depots on fire, blowing up refineries, and creating fuel shortages that now everyday citizens of that country are starting to feel. We are seeing video that shows miles-long lines for fuel stations, and growing frustration that is becoming more and more common every day. And right now, we also have the Russian president being forced to acknowledge that these attacks are no longer something that can be offset. They're beginning to affect fuel supplies and, more dangerously, what they call the security of the nation state. I'll remind you that Russia has a nuclear doctrine that says anytime the nation state is threatened, the administration is threatened, the government, they have the right to use nuclear war. Now, the public position inside of the country is beginning to sway toward a demand for retaliation. And if these strikes continue and shortages in fuel continue to spread, then this attack, if connected, will be the first of many that start to reach beyond the borders of tanks and drones and start to reach all across Europe. Monaco sits right next to France. And after this attack, the search didn't stay inside of this country for very long. We saw French terror emergency services cross immediately into the border. We also saw police from both countries begin working together in a federal investigation. Now, the terror investigators quickly turned their attention to a nearby region where they believed that the suspect or multiple may have crossed into France within minutes of the blast. Now, people who were near the area, they described a horrifying scene that changed instantly. Taken from the mouth of a British resident, they said they first heard an explosion and then soon after watched police vehicles tear through the streets with armed terror guards placed at key locations, including infrastructure. They saw people moving through the areas being stopped, questioned, and searched. As the investigators started examining the evidence inside of this attack, early reports suggest that this was in no way an accident. The terror prosecutors are describing this event and the object as a booby-trapped package or a parcel bomb. Officials say that the device appears to have contained bolts and metal shot, things like you would find inside of buckshot, inside of shotgun casings. This suggests that it was designed to cause as much harm as possible in a very localized area. Investigators are not explaining exactly how it was constructed, but forensic teams are suggesting that this is possibly a known terror element. Basically, it's being taken from a blue book somewhere or a blueprint. So who was the target? Well, Ukraine just laid waste up to 25% of Russia's gas and refined oil. Reports identified one of the victims as Yermolev, a businessman of Ukrainian origin associated with the Aleph group who has high-level connections and an estimated wealth that ranges from roughly, a merely $175 million to almost $1 billion. An unusual aspect of this profile is that the Ukrainian himself was placed under sanctions by Ukraine in December of 2023, with Ukrainian authorities saying that the sanctions were related to business practices taking place inside of the Russian-occupied area of Crimea before the 2014 timeline. So there's already a Russian and Ukrainian tie to this particular event. Now, French media also reported that all three of the victims belonged to the same Ukrainian family, sending a very harsh message to anyone. The injured teenager believed to be related to the two adults, and from everything that we are seeing, reports immediately raised questions about whether or not this was a Russian-led objective, or was it just another coincidence to add to our ever-growing long list of coincidental events, like the sabotage events taking place inside the USA. Well, in other news, we've got some other events to take a look at here. Let's see what's going on in the world around us. The White House is aggressively, they say, tracking down a person who leaked classified documents out to the media. Here's Scott Bessent, the Treasury, saying that gas retailers better wisen up because Trump will come for them.
followed crude, and we're going to hold them accountable on the other side. President Trump talked about it the past week. He had a very powerful Truth Social yesterday. So I would encourage all the gasoline retailers. Some of them are owned by big oil, some are independent, some are international convenience chains. I would encourage them to be good actors, especially in the 250th anniversary, because we're watching. We've got to.
I want you to look at this dash cam footage. This was the moment that a Russian drone impacted a Ukrainian street. Now, let me tell you, the Russian military right now is saying that they have been given the full go-ahead. They've been given the green light to attack Ukraine's capital. And that's one thing that's going to set this off into that next stage of armed military conflict. Let's look at this. Watch this car right here, this white vehicle sitting on the street. This or one of the nearby buildings was definitely the target of this attack. You see immediately the vehicle exploding. Shards of shrapnel sent flying hundreds of feet away in an explosive percussion that there's absolutely no way anybody involved could have ducked and covered for. This is why your wits need to be about you, and why when the United States of America comes under this style of kinetic warfare, when we have drones flying overhead, you cannot afford to go on as business as usual. Well, while I gather today's survival tip, we're going to take a quick moment and hear from Chapter. This episode of Full Spectrum Survival is brought to us by you, the viewer, and by Chapter. One of the largest mistakes that families make is waiting too long to handle important things. Preparedness is not just about what is happening in the world right now. It's also about making sure that your family and the people that you care about are covered in the future. For many Americans, our group members included, Medicare planning is one of the largest and most stressful parts of that process. Chapter compares plans nationwide. They help simplify the system so that you and your family can make informed decisions without confusion. If you're already on the best plan, they're going to tell you. There's no pressure. It's completely free. Most calls take under 20 minutes, and you can call them at 610-900-4081 or use the link below. Today's survival tip is about remaining situationally aware inside of your vehicle, because your car or your truck, or even if you're on a motorcycle, those are one of the places where your awareness matters most, because it combines both speed at which you are traveling, limited visibility, and very little time to react. Now, we do see some training individuals who are out there trying to get people ready. They're constantly scanning, and this is what you have to pay attention to. You have to constantly scan well beyond your vehicle, not directly in front of you, not directly behind you or to the side of you. What's going on 10 vehicles away? Checking your mirrors frequently, identifying potential escape routes, and recognizing unusual behavior before it becomes an immediate problem. You need to make it a habit to leave as much space as possible to maneuver if necessary. So if the vehicle in front of you stops, do not give just a half of a vehicle or even one vehicle's length between you and that vehicle, because the guy behind you, if he decides to push the gas and push you into that vehicle, now where are you? You're sandwiched between two vehicles with very little ability to get out, unless you're really lucky, because the operators on each side of you would need to fail at what they're doing for you to be able to get away from that situation. Of course, avoid being distracted by devices, and isn't it just such a scam that they tell you don't look down at your phone, but they put all these billboards all over the sky for you to look at. Mental practice in what you're doing. You need to be able to gather a picture of everything around you, because what you saw a moment ago, whether it's a vehicle that wasn't over to your right, and now you notice a problem in front of you, or to your left, you know there's no vehicle to your right, and you can make a move over to that area. So situational awareness inside of your vehicle or as you are traveling is very important. It's not just the driver. Make sure as the passenger you are also aware, because it might be you that has to act. Make sure you check back at 2 p.m. this afternoon. More breaking news and headlines from America and around the world. From my family to yours, please stay safe and keep watch.